Brian the Leafs guy here, and I want to talk to you about the five most shocking teams to start the year this year, at least my opinion as to what the five most shocking teams are. So in fifth place, the team that surprises me the most at the start of the year, this one's not in a good way, is Ottawa Senators. I thought that they were going to be a very competitive team this year, and right now they're sitting on 18 points in 19 games. So they have the least amount of games played in the entire year, but 18 points. So less than a point per game. What doesn't surprise me is that they're actually a positive one. Goal differential actually makes a huge difference to know how good a team is doing. I usually find that this tends to even out. So if a team is lower in the standings than I think they should, and their goal differential is pretty good, usually they start creeping up, and vice versa. Not always the case, but I'm looking at this positive one, which tells me that this team is better than the 18 points that they have. But let's look at this team. I think it's actually really well constructed. I don't love everything that they've done, but when I look at this team, it's not a bottom of the league team. It's not an 18 point and 19 game team. So that's why this is shocking to me. You have Tim Stützle down the center. You have Brady Tkachuk. You have Giroux. Just note, with all of these teams that we're going to go over, I don't know the exact lineup, so don't yell at me. This is just a mock anyways, so just in terms of where people might play. It's just a depth chart type of thing. So the lines won't be perfect for any of the teams that I'm doing right now. Norris down the middle should be a good number 2 center. Tarasenko, great ad. Matthew Joseph is having a great year. You have Kubalik, who has quite a few points historically. You have Ridley Gregg, who's having a great year. You have Batherson, really big, strong player, really good cap hit. This fourth line right now is Parker Kelly, Chartier and McEwen, which I believe are all AHL players. So they don't have a fourth line, so to speak of, right now. And that happens because, Shane Pinto, the whole thing with him, obviously that is a big reason. Like if we had Shane Pinto on this team, you get a few extra points. For those who don't know, Shane Pinto was got suspended for half the season, 41 games for a gambling situation. We don't know all the details. I don't know all the details, but that's part of it. But once he's back, this team will look better. I do think that they need a few fourth liners, like proper fourth liners, but that's, with the rest of the team, that's peanuts anyways. Defense, you have Shabbat, you have Zub. Shabbat's an offensive defenseman. Zub is a proper defensive defenseman. You have Sanderson, really good young player. He signed for over $8 million as of next year. And then Chikrin, who's just a beast as well. You have Brandstrom, really solid. You have either Hamonic, you have JBD. I really like this defense core. I like this forward group. I like a lot of what's going on in Ottawa here. Especially once you add Pinto to this. Korpisalo and Forsberg. I didn't love the Korpisalo signing. I've never believed in him as a goalie. I just didn't think 5 years times 4 was the right move. Either way, this team should be doing better. So that is why they're my number 5 team, most shocking team. My number 4 most shocking team. Let's go back to the standings here. I'm going to go with the Boston Bruins, number 2. And it might be shocking to most people that this might be shocking. It's just last year they had a historic season and they were by far they had the most points in the history of the NHL last year. They just lost Krejci and Bergeron down the middle. And when I looked at their team going into the start of the season, let's open it up. Their defense was really good. Their goaltending is really good, like Hampus Lindholm. McAvoy, great. Matt Grzelcyk. Just... Could somebody tell me how to pronounce his name? I don't know. Great defenseman. Brandon Carlo, wonderful. Forbort, and then Shattenkirk. Really good defense core. And then Ullmark and Swayman. I thought they would have traded one of them in the offseason just because it's like they have 2 legitimate starting goalies, which I don't think they need to. It's always good to have, but the reason why I would have traded them is because their center group is just non-existent, at least at the start of the year. It's like, this is non-existent, right? Their wingers are really good. You have Brad Marchand. You have Zaka, who's also playing a lot of center as well. You have James Van Riemsdyk, Trent Frederick, Pasternak, DeBrusk, Geeky, Danton Heinen. I'm sure there's a few other guys. You had Milan Lucic at the start of the year as well. But the problem with this team and what is down the middle. Charlie Coyle, and then you had like Pavel Zacha. Let's be honest here, nobody knew about John Beecher or Matthew Poitras. Like, and Oscar Steen. You're like, how is this? Like, this is the worst center group of the entire, like, that I've ever seen heading into this year. So the fact that there are 37 points in how many games? 24 games with this center group. Obviously, Poitras is a nice young prospect. John Beecher was a first-round pick from a few years ago as well. They're just, nobody knew that this was coming. I without a proper center group, I think it's such an important position on the team. Obviously, if goaltending, which is really important, defense was really important, which Boston has covered, and they have really good wingers. I just did not think. I thought they would be fighting tooth and nail to make the playoffs this year. I didn't have them in the playoffs, I believe, when I made my predictions. Either that, they were on the cusp. I know that much. But the fact that they're like leading the league again, them and New York Rangers, crazy to me. So Boston is my number 4. My number 3 surprise, we're going to the New Jersey Devils, who are just, they're 22nd in the league right now. They have 23 points in 22 games. They're actually a -4 goal differential. They're just losing on a regular basis. Let's go back down to them. Surprise to me. This team is so good on paper. I still think that they're a strong cup contender, and I think that with some minor changes, they'll be great. So Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, just a really good combination down the middle. So Jack Hughes is like borderline generational offensive talent. We'll see if he creeps into that generational talent. I think he has that potential to get there. We'll see over the next few years. But he's just a superstar, like very high end. Hischier was nominated for the Selke last year. It was Hischier, Marner, and Patrice Bergeron. Bergeron won again. Talking about Boston. Losing a Selke winner, centerman who retired. Crazy to me. And then you have Hollow, who's a proper third line center. You have Michael McLeod. McLeod? I think I butchered that. I'm butchering all the names. Tierney down the middle. On the wings, you have Bratt, Mercer, Holtz, Bastian. On the left side, you have Meyer, Toffoli, Palat, Lazar. And keep in mind, like, some of these guys might be playing on the left, some guys might be playing on the right. I don't know the lineup properly. On defense, you have Dougie Hamilton, really good right-hand defense. You have Siegenthaler. I'm sure I butchered that one as well. I know he's a really good defensive defenseman. I know New Jersey Devils are super high on him. The fans are really high. You have Luke Hughes, who's a stud young defenseman with John Marino. You have Kevin Ball, who's a proper like bottom pairing defenseman, but people are really happy with him too. You have Simon Nemec, who hasn't been playing up until recently, so he just got into the lineup. You have Colin Miller and Brendan Smith. This defense core is quite good. I would like them to add one guy on the left. I want them to upgrade Ball. So like maybe a Noah Hannafin on this group would really make a big difference here. But we're improving an extremely good team. And then their goaltending questions. Schmid has been okay, I believe. And Vanasek has not been great. So I think goaltending is obviously... So when I look at Boston, I'm sure New Jersey's calling Boston. Can I have one of them? Just give me one. We'll give you something good. They have a ton of prospects. They have a ton of picks. Sometimes, like, if you look at a Tampa Bay Lightning, their team is mediocre and they have no picks left. Like, all their picks are gone. They have no prospects. New Jersey has a ton of prospects. So I believe that they're going to make the playoffs and that they're going to bounce back. But they have to start turning. They have to get going. I'm happy that Luke Hughes, hopefully he gets a little bit more playing time, and hopefully Nemec gets more playing time coming up. And I believe that'll make a big difference. I know Hischier and Hughes were out for quite a few games there as well. Losing two really high-end centers doesn't help at all. The number 2 team that is a surprise, that is a shock to me. Edmonton Oilers in 29th place. After winning 4 games in a row? Like, what is going on? So 22 games, 19 points. This was really bad. They just won 4 games in a row. Think about that. You remove 8 points from this. 11 in 19 games. They had 11 points in 19 games. That's horrible. So let's go take a look at Edmonton. I like things about Edmonton, but I don't love their roster construction. But I believe they should have been quite a bit higher because they have McDavid, they have Draisaitl. I really like the Evander Kane ad. I like Zach Hyman. I like Nugent Hopkins. I really like Connor Brown. I really hate this contract though. So they put him as a league minimum contract. But then they gave him a $3.225 million bonus. And the bonus is if he played 10 games, he got it. So the way this works is that they were able to fit the cap this year, but this $3.225 million will actually push them well over the cap throughout the year. So like it got them cap compliant at the start of the year. Boston did this last year with Bergeron as well. But now they're going to be well over the cap. So then next year, they're going to have a cap penalty. So like you see here, they have an $850,000 overage. That was from last year, meaning they had $850,000 less to play with this year. With this Connor Brown contract, they might have a 3-point-something million overage next year, which just really hampers them in the long term. Like it really, I don't get it, honestly. Like, They should be all in, but it should be all in for a few years. And this was just a very short-sighted move, in my opinion. It just really messes them up next year. And obviously, they're having a terrible start of the year. Jack Campbell got sent down to the minors. He couldn't save a beach ball. Stuart Skinner hasn't been great either, last I checked. So the problem that I see with this team is I don't love their bottom six. However you throw it, I just don't like it. I wanted them to fix it. Like I wanted them to get rid of Campbell in the offseason so they could use that cap to improve their bottom six. I don't hate their defense, but it should be improved. Like I don't like this Darnell Nurse contract. I thought Darnell Nurse, Morgan Riley, and Seth Jones, they all kind of signed at a similar time. I thought that they should all get a similar contract, and I thought that contract was $7.5 million a year. Morgan Riley signed the $7.5 million a year, and it's looking great. Darnell Nurse and Seth Jones signed for $9 bajillion each, and it's looking terrible in both situations. Like, if Darnell Nurse was at 7.5, nobody's batting an eye. We're like, okay, he's not, because he's not a $9 million defense. 9+ tells me that you should be the best of the best of the best. 7.5, you're like, okay, he's really good, but there's a few flaws in their game, and we can appreciate it and understand it. I also did not love the Matthias Ekholm trade last year. Matthias Ekholm, wonderful player, but he's older. How old is he now? Let me double check this. He's 33, and he still has 3 more years or 2 more years after this. At $6 million, I just don't think that they had the cap space, especially when there was a Jacob Chychrun floating around who is substantially younger and at a $4.6 million cap hit. And Chychrun got traded for a first and 2 seconds. I think the Edmonton should have got Chychrun instead of Ekholm. And that would have really helped their cap situation. All to say is Edmonton should not be at the bottom of the league, even though I don't like their bottom, like their defense isn't great. Like CC, I want upgraded. I would want CC to be upgraded. That's when I look at this team. It's like, okay, if CC were a better player, like if CC was turned into a Tanev, this defense core looks quite a bit better. And this bottom six needs work, but there's so many good pieces on Edmonton. I think that they should still be high in the league. They should be comfortably in a playoff spot. So the fact that they're 29th, just crazy to me. Like, okay, they're going to pass, like, 29th. Yes, they're going to pass Columbus. Columbus has 4 more games played, right? So they will pass. So Edmonton's on the way up. They might still make the playoffs, but the fact that they're this low just tells me that that's bad. It looks like McDavid has picked up his game recently, so they are on the right trajectory, but it's still shocking to me how poor they started. And honestly, I think management has done a terrible job in Edmonton. They are so tied against the cap. Like, they're in a cap corner. The Leafs now are actually in a really good situation cap-wise. They have so many directions that they can veer. They're a little bit tight for this year, but moving forward, it's actually fine. I've played around with the Edmonton Oilers, and it's so hard for me to fix, or for anybody to fix the situation. They've just put themselves in a corner, and it's very hard for them to get out. It's going to be very expensive for them to get out. I really hope they don't waste McDavid and Draisaitl's remaining years on this team, because this is such an exciting team. Okay, let's go on to the number 1 team that is shocking me this year. I can't believe this. The Vancouver Canucks. 33 points in 25 games. This is very shocking to me. They have a plus 32 goal differential right now. They are just beating up on teams. I think the Vancouver Canucks and Edmonton Oilers, if they flip-flopped, I would understand that. I don't understand this. 33 points in 25 games. I was very critical of the Edmonton Oilers in the offseason. I said this is a weak bubble team, and I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. Okay. They're proving me wrong, and I'm okay with it. Like, JT Miller and Elias Lindholm and Quinn Hughes are basically leading the league in points. They're just dominating everybody. You know, I like Kuzmenko. I know he's had a rough few weeks. Really good player. Brock Besser, I believe, is leading the league in goals right now. I need to go take a look at this. Am I correct in saying that? Let's go goals. Brock Besser has 17 goals. He's leading the league in goals. In the points, you have JT Miller, 36 points, 25. Okay, Kucherov is kind of taken off. And then you have Quinn Hughes and Pettersson right there as well. I don't know. And none of those guys are named Besser. So Besser has the 17 goals, and he's not even in that top grouping of points. A little bit wild to me. I really like Mikheyev. I'm obviously a Leafs fan. I loved Mikheyev on the Leafs. I was hoping they could re-sign him. As soon as I saw that he signed for 4 years, $4.75 million, I was like, well, I wish you luck. You know, like, that was way too much money in my mind. I wanted him for like 4 years, $3.5 million with the Leafs. I really like Mikheyev. I think he's a great dude. He's super fast, super strong. I saw him have like a bajillion breakaways every single game, like that he created himself with the Leafs. I'm very happy for him. Really good player. Connor Garland, not worth his contract, but the team is doing great. Sam Lafferty, I really like him as well. I understood why the Leafs traded him this year. It's because they decided to sign Reeves. I'm glad we got a pick for him. I'm glad he's worked out for Vancouver. I really liked him on the Leafs. He can take face-offs. He's very quick. He's been putting up goals. Hoglander, I'm happy for him. Hopefully he keeps producing. I know Dakota Johnson's a decent player. Teddy Bluger is a good centerman. I know they have Pius Suter as well. And I know PDG, I was really hard on him. I know he's had a really good year. I don't know where he's slotting in the lineup right now. I know he started the year second line, and I was like, what is this? And he's doing really good there. Defense, Quinn Hughes, Philip Honrick. Really good pairing. Really good pairing. This was a sneaky pickup. I was confused. I was surprised when Detroit traded him at last year's deadline. We have Zadorov that they just traded for. I think he's a great ad. And Tyler Myers. You have Ian Cole. You have Mark Friedman. You have Juleson. And obviously you have Carson Soucy, who's going to come back at some point. This defense is just huge. Like the first pairing, small, super offensive. Tyler Myers and Zadorov are both monsters. Soucy's huge. Yeah, and then Demko and DeSmith. I thought that Smith was a perfect fit. I thought DeSmith was either going to get traded to Tampa Bay or to Vancouver for around a third-round pick, and it ended up going to Vancouver. It was a really good ad. But honestly, it's very surprising. Let me go back to the standings here. This is shocking to me. Let's go to the league. Vancouver, right at the top of the league, plus 32, which looks like it's the highest in the entire league. Crazy to me. This is my number one shock surprise of the year. I'm so happy for Vancouver. But what are your thoughts? Who are your five most surprising? Who are you most shocked about? So obviously, we have Ottawa Senators, Boston, Detroit, New Jersey. Let's restart this. Ottawa, Boston, New Jersey, Edmonton, Vancouver. That is my list. I want to hear your list. Who are you most shocked about this season? Leave it in the comments below. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you stay for the whole video, you're a legend. Brian, the Leafs guy, out. I'll see you tomorrow.